Hello. Alright, hope you guys are doing well. It's been another minute. It's technically a Sunday. According to the calendar day, it is after midnight. It's about 22 to 1 on August 4th. Technically, if we're looking at planetary days, it's still Saturn day and it is a sun hour. But yeah, there is a new moon happening in around 4 a.m. And along with that, we have Venus moving into Virgo today as well, and Mercury going retrograde, all within 24 hours. So this new moon is pretty loaded, and I mentioned before how the new moon is at 12 degrees. It's at 12 degrees and 34 minutes, which is kind of cool, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's at the same degree that the north node of Neptune is at. And so that's connected to planetary nodes. And I talked about planetary nodes a few videos ago. Like each planet has their own north and south node, just like the moon has the north node currently in Aries and the south node in Libra. And so the north node of Neptune is at 12 degrees Leo, and the south node is at 12 degrees Aquarius. And so this is a really significant new moon, and with all of the activity happening on the same day of the new moon, and all of the, not all, but like a number of planets that are on these other asteroids, like Uranus is still sitting on the fixed star Algol, and Algol is like the demon star and is connected to the myth of Medusa. It has the Lilith energy, where traditional stories talk about how like things connected to Algol are very gruesome, high death tolls, and just very tragic stories. And the story of Medusa itself, if you dig far enough, it's like the victim becoming the abuser. Medusa was violated, and she was, instead of being treated as a victim, she was treated as the scapegoat. Like she was persecuted for what happened to her. Like she was innocent. She was this maiden in the palace of Athena. I don't want to get too far into it, but it's like very tragic. And so Uranus is still on the fixed star Algol. And then we have, gosh, what else was there? We have Chiron currently retrograde, and Chiron is the wounded healer who, wants to, in Aries, wants to understand his place in the world, like what job title you hold is kind of, I guess, the modern way to, like in first world problems, like way to connect Chiron and Aries to, and we are all kind of struggling with what our status is, whether we are connected to a system or a group that has been following this way of living, or are we more than that? And we are more than that. We've been gaslit into thinking that we don't have the power to become who we believe we are. And so the new moon in Leo is really asking us to tend to the inner child and act from the heart, like really go within and reflect on what are those things that bring us pure joy without the expectation of validation, external validation, whether it's financially, for capitalistic gain. It's just pure joy because if no one else were watching, you would be happy, like a happy camper, just doing this, whatever it is, by yourself. Whether it's singing or dancing or making music or writing, whatever it might be. It could be, building little tiny homes or like toothpick homes. It could be anything. And this new moon is really asking us to not get swept up in the programming that we've been subject to of having to be showy and do things for the numbers, for the analytics. It's not an easy pill to swallow. Like, we have been conditioned so hard over the past how many generations to believe that the more money you make, the more likes you have, the more friends you have, then the better person you are, or the more successful you are, or it's some sort of symbol to have all these things, and it's external validation, which is irrelevant. You know, sure, it's nice to feel validated, but you can't tell what's real, and we have to really count on our own intuition and insight to determine for ourselves what rings true for us, whether that's like finding our own creative intuition, whether that's guiding ourselves through like navigating this world, or even if it's just like finding your way to, you know, a certain location in the forest, and you have to like rely on your intuition. We have to kind of go through this time right now as if the GPS system is not working. And so if we are the type to like kind of just follow instructions unwittingly, like blindly, and just, you know, trusting in the system that has been presented to us, then we're going to have to learn to like wean off of those conveniences, because the conveniences are starting to prove unreliable, and it's not allowing us to really use our own God-given creativity. And so there's a lot to be said about this. Like, there's a lot of opportunities that are coming across, like falling in our lap, or maybe, you know, with the Mars-Uranus conjunction we had in Taurus a couple of weeks ago, it's really changed our perspectives. And so we're like looking at new ways of being, of doing things. Like, we are starting to realize that we can't just go back to the old way of being. Like, it's not making us happy, it's not fulfilling. We have these squares going on between Gemini and Pisces, and these are mutable signs, and the mutable signs are the signs that are looking at different options. You know, there's always some sort of escape route. Like, Geminis want to see what the next thing is on the agenda, or, you know, like where else is there to go, or just like trying to present an alternative option or way of thinking, which is great. We have Jupiter in Gemini, and so we are for the next year until like summer of 2025. And so this is like an expansion of information, and we're like really researching and sharing information, looking at different options, because we know that what has been happening now for the past hundreds of years hasn't been in our favor. And there's like this incredible system of fraud happening that has been happening in the background, presented to us as something for our own good, for our protection. And maybe, you know, for a time that might have been useful for a certain group of people. But, you know, it's 2024. We've come a long way, and these are major shifts that are happening. But like with Pluto going back into Capricorn at 29 degrees, there's going to be this like last ditch effort to hold on to those old systems. But yeah, the mutable signs, Gemini and Pisces, the Gemini placements, which are Jupiter and Mars. Mars is in Jupiter, and Mars is about to meet up with Jupiter in a couple weeks, I think the 13th or 14th of August. And so that is going to ignite this major movement to like really push some information out and like pursue maybe higher learning, higher wisdoms. Like Jupiter is all about higher beliefs and higher knowledge. But at the same time, Saturn in Pisces will be at the same degree. So they're going to be squaring at 17 degrees. And that's going to be the feeling of like restriction and like holding back and being told no. So there's got to be, and we have to trust that Saturn in Pisces is going to reward us in the end if we can be patient with what's going on. We have to like really roll with the punches. And with the Gemini energies, we have to kind of like keep it light and like keep our emotions in check and not get overly, you know, inflated, and we just have to like keep her cool, you know, like Bruce Lee, like be like water, you know, just, and like being Zen is all about having control of your emotions. But the Gemini placements are also making these friendly cooperative aspects to the planets in Leo. So the Sun, the Moon, Venus, well, Venus is about to go into Virgo, but so there are some excellent opportunities for us to really be courageous and use our voice. And so whether we're using our voice to stand up for ourselves, stand up for our beliefs, you know, we're not going to take it anymore. And we have ways of delivering the information or delivering our sentiments in ways that are non-violent. You know, they can be communicated in respectful and compassionate ways. You know, this is a new era. Like, we don't have to be so dramatic, but you know, everybody's different. People are really going through it right now. I was going to also mention the generations of Pluto and Leo, which are 1939 to 1957. So, and yeah, like the people who are like Biden, I forget, I think he was like born in 1940. But yeah, the Pluto and Leo generation, maybe our parents, are really holding on to the old. And like with Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, those are all the fixed signs, and so those are stubborn signs. Leo is very, it's like fixed fire, so it's a lot more demanding and you know, like very adamant about not changing things or doing things a certain way. And with Pluto currently in Aquarius, like Aquarius has everything to do with technology and the collective and, you know, power to the people. And so there's this massive tension between the two, especially like between generations, which is apparent like across the board, you know, where the younger generation, or like the current generation, like the people now, the zeitgeist, I guess you can call it, is wanting to push forward and progress and like reclaim our sovereignty. And Aquarius is all about freedom and liberation. Sovereignty is a huge piece of this new moon in Leo. And Pluto in Leo is like probably very confused right now because it's such a big change, and like change takes a lot of adjusting to, and it's just a lot of uprooting what we've known to be true, or what we've been programmed to believe is true for so long. And so it's unsettling, it's uncomfortable, you know, it's, you know, not an easy time for anybody right now. But this is something that, you know, we have to kind of prepare for, and one of the best ways to do that is to like keep these grounding practices part of a routine, you know, like where you're not getting pulled into what's being shown on television and being like emotionally pulled. And you know, that's what they want. Media is a weapon, like it's been used as a tool to influence and manipulate and distract us from really connecting with our own intuition and creativity, and knowing that we have a sovereignty to exercise. So we have to, we're like starting to become aware of more of these truths, and there is a lot of energy in speaking the truth. And who was I listening to? Nancy Rebecca, and I'll link her video. She does these monthly frequency forecasts, and she has a meditation in that video where, you know, people who are a lot more attached to the systems that we've been using for so long, like the GPS and like the schedules that we have been kind of relying on to just get through our day, you know, like getting on the road and like getting from point A to B. Everybody's different. People are going to have a certain level of intuition where they don't have to rely on, or they haven't been, or you haven't needed to rely on certain systems, certain conveniences. But there are also groups of people that have, you know, taken advantage of the conveniences and been programmed to like rely on them, and not able to like, you know, kind of think off the cuff. Like I forget where I was a couple days ago, but the total came out to like $17.01 or something, and I was like, okay, let me give you 1 cent. And I guess she didn't hear me, and so like I put down the penny, and she was like, oh, I can't take that anymore, it's going to mess up the count. And it might have been, you know, like her first retail job, but it was like this example of like relying on what the cash register, like the computer, was telling her how much change to give back. And luckily, like, you know, there was a manager nearby, and she was like, are we allowed to take the penny? And the manager's like, yeah, you just, you know. And so the you know, whoever was helping me was like, so how much change do I give back? and $4 or whatever, or three or whatever, how much it is. But it's like that kind of method of thinking where we've been so dependent on what we're being told by these computers and machines, like how to respond and what to do, where to turn. We're gonna have to let go of those, like in the coming years, so that we can rely on our own intuition and be more discerning as to what the truth is. And more truth is being shared, and so with truth, there's like a level of energy that is emitted, and I think that contributes to all of the solar activity that's been going on lately, because more truth has been shared, and which is raising the frequency. And the more we do that, the more we can like shed what is not true. Like we can see the lies for what they are and do something about it. And so the new moon in Leo is a call to like stay connected to our heart and be the shining example for others to just shine without shame. Like trying to make people change, just be an example for others to see. Then they'll be able to like turn away from these lies and connect with their own heart and share their own unique skills and creations and truths, so that we can eventually like vibrate out of this toxic matrix, this toxic paradigm that has been constructed for the benefit of like a small group of elite. There's a lot coming up, just like in general, and with these planets at the anaretic degrees, that's where there's a lot of extreme energy, where there's this sense of urgency to, like in Pluto and Capricorn, that'll be the energy of this sense of energy to hold on to what has been. Like Capricorn is all about capitalism and control and like micromanaging. And so that pull, or that urgency to like hold on, like this is the tightest grip that 29 Capricorn can express. And it's going to be interesting to see exactly how it plays out. Again, like these grounding practices to go back to is important, so that we don't lose our heads. We have to see this entire show, like circus, as entertainment. Like it is, it's wild how history repeats itself. Like this kind of thing happened in around like the mid 1800s, 1860s, and it's crazy how like these themes are somewhat repeating. Like I forget who says like history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And so there is a rhythm to what was going on in 1860, but with like these heroic, seemingly heroic figures coming to light, and like these, just like the Leo King says, like there's this system that has been set up to feed a certain narrative. Like they haven't allowed certain people to run as candidates because they don't fit the narrative. Like Marianne Williamson, and what is it, RFK Jr. Like it doesn't make any sense that they have not been invited to speak. But these illusions and shows and this circus, it's important to really be able to discern for ourselves, like whether these people, these actors, these figures are real or fake. Like basically a lot of them can talk a good game, and there's that for divisiveness. And so we have to remember to focus on what we can actually create ourselves. Like what's going on out there is a show, and it's set up to distract us from our own inner light. So let me see, is that all I wanted to mention? Oh yeah, and so these extreme energies at the anaretic degrees, Pluto's going to be at 29 Capricorn in about a month, so September. Neptune's at 29 degrees of Pisces, and Pisces, it's a beautiful sign. I'm not going to lie, I'm not biased at all. But at 29 degrees, like every sign has a light and shadow side. and 29 degrees again is an anaretic degree, and that's like the extreme energies of that sign. In the sign of Pisces, it's extreme illusions, lies, also dreams and imagination, like on the high vibe side, but it's like, really having that feeling of delusion, and it could be creative play, and like that's exactly what this is. It's like this massive display of creativity, like we can think of it that way, maybe like this massive show that's being put on, and as it makes aspects to other planets, it's like, what kind of narrative is this massive show trying to convey, especially as it makes aspects to Jupiter and Gemini. We just have to really use our own intuition and discernment to be able to filter through the lies. And like, AI can be useful, but it can also be like a major trickster. I think, who is it? Google has their own AI generator called Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is considered to be trickster energy, and it is connected to communication. This is a new moon in Leo. It is calling for people to like use and express that inner light, and especially as it's in a fire trine to Chiron. Like, they're not at the same degree, but they're Chiron's in Aries and this new moon is in Leo. It's really asking us to attend to our inner child and not be concerned about external validation, whether that's through our job, or like per job or per service, or per hour, per year, whatever it might be. Like, energy is the new currency, and the more we speak and express our truth, emits more energy and like higher frequencies, then the more we can share our own unique creativity, which is essentially our own truths, then that form of currency is going to be a lot more valuable than promissory notes. Like the money, the dollar signs are not going to mean anything. And we are going to come to realize, how the whole system of monetary exchange is kind of messed up, to be honest. Actually, there was something else I was going to mention, but yeah, hopefully that made sense, kind of all over the place. But yeah, it's a new moon in Leo, and Mercury is retrograding at 4 degrees. Mercury re-enters Leo on the 14th of August. Re-enters Virgo September 9th. But we'll still be in that shadow period for, around 4 degrees of Virgo then. So like a few days after September 9th. Mercury retrogrades around 2 to 3 times a year, which are opportunities for us to go back and like kind of, I guess, right anything that has been wrong. During those times, there can be new opportunities that surface that we might not have otherwise have seen had Mercury not been retrograde, or had we not have had to go back and redo a certain task, then we might not have seen this other opportunity and make something even better. So we want to be grateful for these opportunities to slow down. It's like this universal permission to slow down, and helps us meet realistic standards, and reminds us to complete tasks with integrity, which often brings blessings of authentic alignment. During the Mercury retrograde, there can be a lot more, because there's a lot more attention to detail. There can also be an increase in criticisms. So, it's not to be taken personally. Like, we need to also learn to not take things personally and see things more as constructive, productive observations, instead of taking things like so offensively. Like, we have to get past that. This new moon is really begging us to use courage and creativity, and really standing in our truth, and knowing that, like, being confident in what we know for ourselves to be true is true for us, and there's nothing, not even fear, not even threats, that can keep us from pursuing happiness, pursuing sovereignty. Oh yeah, we just need to really stay centered, stay grounded, like breathe, speak, act from the heart, and be fearless. Like Leo's, all the fire signs are like fearless leaders. But Leo in particular are the shining examples. Like, this is a call for us to be the shining examples of courage, bravery, and creativity. So yeah, it's a significant new moon in Leo, and we have some pretty cooperative aspects. Let's see, the trine to Mars and Jupiter in Gemini is great for this, for like creative projects, but we just have to understand that we can't be attached to any income, to any outcome, or to any income. Like, whether it's like we're trying to create something with the purpose of being paid, or like being paid a certain amount, we have to kind of let go of those expectations, like let go of any expectations. That way we can lessen the chances of disappointment. But yeah, just be a child, act, create from that inner child energy, so that you can heal and reconnect with what your passions were before being programmed by the powers that currently are, but not for long. So, okay, hopefully that made sense, and hopefully that was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, hit me up if you are curious about your own chart to see, what direction you are feeling called to, and your intuition can be further validated when you have an understanding of the symbols in your birth chart. It's like your cosmic signature, your thumbprint, or your cosmic blueprint, however you want to look at it. The stars are there to guide us. They're created for us to pay attention to and connect with. Because when we have that relationship with the universe, there's a communication that we receive, which is wild. Like, even just going to Trader Joe's and striking up a conversation. This girl had a Aries tattoo on, behind her ear, and so we were just like, quickly chit-chatting, and she was born on March 24th. I was like, oh, on March 16th. She was like, oh, that's my sister's birthday. And it just like raises the vibration. It's like a feel-good moment, even as short of a conversation as it was like something that raises the vibration. So if we can just kind of put ourselves out there, and the universe will come through us in those magical moments for one reason or another. And that moment at Trader Joe's was just like, oh my god, I'm so glad, like, I noticed and said something about her tattoo. Like, so don't be afraid to a compliment, especially during Leo season. Like, don't be afraid to, like, share and like be generous with your compliments, observations. Like, why not? Okay, yeah. So anyway, hopefully you have some beautiful moments, or even, more profound, astounding experiences like that. And if you do, feel free to share and raise the vibration. Why not? Sharing is caring. Okay. All right. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.